Oh, yeah. Resting comfortably. I'm gonna restart this because I like it. It is so nice and cool in this apartment right now. I mean, it's only 60 outside, but God, it feels so good in here. Once I start playing a game, though, all the hot air that's going to get ejected from my PC is going to change that. All right, you know what, guys? We have a lot of requests stacked up here. Oh, there's only 3, actually. Never mind. We should get to playing one of these. Yep, well, it's just my corner of the room because I have the wall right behind me and there's the corner. So when my PC starts to eject out a bunch of hot air, it gets really warm over here, which I'm actually not going to complain about. It should feel good because it is pretty cold right now. All right, you want to get... Let's watch one Chillz video. 15 scary videos humans weren't meant to see. We'll watch this one.
Are you a human? If so, then you should probably avert your eyes. These are the scary videos humans weren't meant to see. Number 15.
Oh my God.
Zombie walking. Watch your brains. There's a zombie on the loose. Published by Mr. Illusion in February of 2022. This YouTuber captured what he thinks is a zombie on camera. Dressed all in black, the figure lurches through the high grass. On closer inspection, he appears to be missing his cranium. Despite this, who follows this creepy figure,
cranium?
Who also looks to be carrying a tool or small hatchet in his hand. He weaves through the woods, off on a mission to do what? I'm not quite sure. Is this a zombie? Or something out of the mind of Ichabod Crane? Number 14. The investigation. While exploring a spooky abandoned cellar, these ghost hunters face something more fearsome than ghosts. Published by Scary Labs in August of 2021, this scary video shows the crew investigating several dark bricked rooms. The cameraman scans one room that appears to be empty. Then he turns to his colleague, who is directing her camera toward another room, asking the spirits to come forward. When the spirits refuse to answer, the cameraman turns back toward the previously empty room, only it's not empty anymore.
What? No, it showed it. Oh, please. Please.
Black cloak, black hair, pale skin. What was this thing? I'm guessing Professor Snape, but the crew didn't stick around long enough to find out.
Oh, what's up, Scam Train? I'm sorry to hear that, man. Well, I mean, not necessarily because, dude, my dad is 52 this year, but my mom got COVID really bad last year. And he took like 0 precautions. He was kind of like you, where he was like, you know what? I'm just going to have it. He's like, we live together. We're in each other's space constantly. So I'm just going to accept the fact that I have it. And he was like, I'm just going to start taking cold medicine now. He never got it. He tested like 20 times while she had it. He never got it. And he is considered more high risk, so.
Number 13. Ghost
You may not.
Battle. A quarrel with a poltergeist has only one outcome. You lose. Published by Scary Desk in September of 2021. The computer shop owner is battling for his life. The man is seen on an upper balcony of his shop at night. It sounds like it's raining. He puts his hood on and heads back toward his
You know
shop.
what's even crazier? Me and Bridget think that we had it before it was reported that it was even in the US. It was like January of 2020 or December of 2019. I think it was December 2019. We both had the same symptoms, like everything. I had lack of taste, lack of smell, shortness of breath. You lose. Yeah, I had shortness of breath. I had everything. And it lasted like 2 weeks. It just lingered forever. And then when I recovered, I was fine. And and I never have gotten it since the pandemic really kicked into high gear. I've been blessed enough to not get sick whatsoever, not even a single time, and I'm knocking on my desk right now because you can't just make claims like that. But I haven't been sick a single time since the pandemic hit. Knock on wood. Hopefully that'll continue. What's up, Cowardly? Damn, what a crowd tonight. I appreciate everybody hanging out.
But the minute he steps toward the door, he is thrown onto his back, falling onto the ground. You see he appears to have been pushed by a shadowy force.
What's up, Burn? Hey, I didn't have an important business meeting with company job tonight. I was able to make it because I didn't have a meeting with company business job.
Runs to his aid from an adjacent office.
Exactly, dude. It was fucked up.
As the man points in fear, what did he see? The young man looks inside but finds nothing. He then helps the owner limp to safety. What did this to this poor
Well, first of all, both guys are wearing open-toed shoes. So in my opinion, the poltergeist was pissed at their lack of drip.
Is it the end of it, or is it just the beginning? Number 12, Well Dweller, an encounter with a mysterious pale figure
I told
in
the truth.
forest. What could go wrong?
Failed the drip
Published
check.
by F2 Fun Facts YT. This cameraman arrives at a cement well that may be home to a madman. Peering down into it, he only sees darkness, but then he pulls back and casts the camera over his surroundings. In a corner near another cement structure, a pale figure is crouched. The figure looks human but keeps very still.
Why does he always say
until it
figure?
suddenly springs up, turns around and launches at the cameraman. Its movements are incredibly agile, almost superhuman, and its skin is inhumanely pale. Does it live in the well? Needless
The quality
to say,
is
the
so
cameraman
bad.
flees, leaving us to wonder if the creature was human or something else. Number 11, Yale Lake Leaf Monster. While out kayaking on Yale Lake, this man soon realizes he isn't alone. Published by Crypto D Nut in June of 2017, the kayaker captures bubbles surfacing from the bottom of the lake, and not just a couple, like enough where the lake looks like a hot tub with the jets on. The kayaker films the strange bubble patch and remarks that there's no current.
Just bubbles coming from the bottom of the lake.
Like enough that that was not professional, Chillz.
No current.
Then he puts his camera underwater. You can see the bubbles floating up, but you can't see the source. Back out of the water, something enormous erupts in the lake.
Oh,
a
God.
huge bubble breaks, right where the YouTuber's friend was kayaking a moment before.
What the What the What the just happened?
Leaves and mud have surfaced, and the guys say it stinks. What is this? Is there a lake monster in these waters?
Yeah, I'm
Commenter
inhumanly pale,
Stephenopoulos
too.
likely has the explanation. He writes in the comments that this is concentrated gas that is sometimes produced in anaerobic environments and can suffocate you when released. Others add it was likely a methane pocket burst built up by plant matter decomposing at the bottom of the lake.
He has a way of making these
warns, if you
hilarious
ever
and not
see that,
scary.
get as far away as possible. Well, not a lake monster. The reality is still very frightening.
He said it stinks.
Number 10, grape spider. If
What?
you're eating grapes right now, step away from the bunch. Published by Sam Turner and
Step away from the bunch. What the fuck?
still very frightening. Number 10, grape spider. If you're eating grapes right now, step away from the bunch. Published by Sam Turner in September of 2015. A close-up of this grape bunch shows that something is growing on it and that something is hatching.
Oh god, that is actually fucked up.
Oh my it's
Oh my lord.
A spider is literally crawling out of the grapes these people purchased from a chain grocery store. The grapes were packaged in plastic. There appears to be a web wrapped around the vine, and the yellow sac spider crawls out of it. Several people in the comments say they found the same thing in their grapes from various grocery stores. Some commenters implied that supermarket staff were somehow
Sounds
responsible. But Pika Pika writes, the grocery store doesn't just insert a free spider. Grapes are scary. It doesn't matter where they're from. I had baby spiders crawling out of my grapes along with supposed mothers. Moral of the story, don't eat expletive grapes. Or I'll add to that, just be mindful when you do.
Spider.
Oh, that's fucked up.
Oh my. That's a spider crawling out of our grape.
Number 9,
Crawling out of our
walking through
grape.
walls. As we all know, ghosts can walk through walls. Here's video proof, published by Full Horror Dose.
Again,
in April
horrible
of
camera quality.
2022. This scary footage was
Uploaded in 2022, and it looks like some heinous shit from the late 90s.
captured on CCTV in the hall of what appears to be a school building. In one of the cameras, a woman is seen in the hallway. She turns toward the wall and after pausing for a moment, walks right on through it. On closer inspection, there doesn't appear to be a doorway, elevator, or any entry here to explain her seeming disappearance.
Oh yeah, my arm is pale as fuck. This arm, dude, this arm is crazy pale. It is unbelievably pale. So when I go out, it's the same deal.
Video proof, published by Full Horror. For a moment, walks right on through it. On closer inspection, there doesn't appear to be a doorway, elevator, or any entry here to explain her seeming disappearance. The way she moves so tentatively is also strange, and her figure vanishes right into the flat surface. What do you think? Is this a real ghost in action? If not that or clever editing, what could possibly be going on in this building? Number 8, creep in the window. Whatever is keeping this family awake is worse than a nightmare. Published by Amma Media Channel in April of 2022. A woman is sleeping on a couch
Damn,
when
people are
strange
uploading this
things
fake
start
stuff
to
all the
happen
time.
around her. A tricycle slowly wheels itself backward, then it launches forward, taking a wide turn. It's so loud. What's most surprising is that the woman doesn't wake up. Next, one side of the couch that she's sleeping on is lifted completely off the ground. Now,
and then she just goes back to
45-degree
sleep.
angle. The woman only wakes up when the couch slams back down on the floor.
What the hell is
It
this?
still takes her a moment to rise, even when the couch is lifted a second time. She then climbs off and runs away. The woman returns to the room with a male resident, explaining what happened. They don't arrive at any conclusion as to the cause, but the man lays down on the couch to rest. Not long after, a mysterious head appears close to the security camera.
This is so
Later, as
fake.
the man struggles to sleep, a creepy figure appears in the window. The faceless figure is wearing black gloves and seems to be trying to get in. The sleeping man spasms uncontrollably, but it's unclear what is going on.
This is so fucking weird.
Is the creep in the window casting a spell of some kind? The figure disappears and then the couch starts to lift again, as it did with the woman who was sleeping there. The man falls off the couch, wakes up, and fires off.
I'm a ginger. You don't have shit on me for pale. Caleb Park's also a ginger.
He returns with a sword, but who will he battle? There's no one there. As he looks outside for his opponent.
Okay, this has gone on way too long, dude. This clip has gone on far enough.
The faceless figure in the window greets him. What is this thing? As I said, it's worse than a nightmare. Number 7.
Enough, okay.
Beating Heart. Although this haunted mansion has long been abandoned.
Oh, fake as
its
hell.
heart
Look at
is
this.
still beating. Published by Lewis Clark in October
I know,
of 2021.
bro.
A group of paranormal explorers came across something incredibly chilling in this haunted home.
Anytime
door
somebody makes a
outside-
face like this, you know they're faking it. Literally, anytime somebody makes this face on a YouTube video, you know they're acting. or faking it. It's the McJugger Nuggets fake shock look that they'll put on.
Came across something incredibly chilling in this haunted home. On the door outside, black handprints are pasted with a trace of what I hope is ketchup down the middle. After entering the home, Lewis shows viewers where he found a lifeless body in a fridge the last time he entered.
Yeah, that's the one from my thumbnails,
though. Been removed.
This is where I found the dead body, right there in a fridge. The fridge is no longer here. Right
Lewis
there.
Clark.
That was where the fridge was. Still see some.
In the darkness, Lewis plays a trick on his cameraman, but they soon find there's
Oh,
no
that
for
dude, that hand tattoo is fucking awesome.
This place is legit haunted. When they look more closely at the objects inside,
Yeah,
these
McJugger Nuggets. This guy, you know. Surely you know. The psycho dad guy.
This thing's zoomed. Oh, there. Okay. Fucking stupid thing.
Buddy, you're trespassing on my property.
That guy.
JT, let me have this house. JT let you have my house. Yes. My shed. I want it. You're trespassing on my property. You didn't win shit in my yard.
Wait.
All of you.
Daddy, chill.
What the hell is even that? Get everybody out of my yard.
Okay. Oh, no. That's greatest freak out ever, kid. That's Stephen Quire. But close.
They realize the chilling truth of what they are.
What is that then? What is that?
Getting a closer look, the organs appear to be hearts floating in red liquid. Although Lewis admits that they likely aren't human, how do we know for sure?
That's fucked up.
I hope this team got a hold of the authorities just in case. Number 6. Ghoul Girl. This Ghoul Girl is making her presence known. Published by Breakman in March of 2022, this scary video is trending in the Spanish-speaking YouTube community.
Horrible
The
video
security
quality
camera
again.
captures a woman in a white dress entering a living room. You might think it's just the lady of the house. You can only see the woman from the neck down as she enters, so everything appears quite normal at first.
Yeah,
but as
3
she
frames per
crosses the
second.
room, walking toward the camera, you first notice her neck. The woman's neckline on her dress appears dark, perhaps red, and as she comes closer, you find nothing is normal at all, with dark rings around her eyes. If it is a person, looks like a ghoul, and it looks like she shuts off the security camera. Is this someone heading out for a Halloween party?
Hey, what's up, Mac? Oh, guys, check out that badge. That artist badge is so cool. I'm really glad that they added that.
Oh, good. Number 5. He's watching. Someone is watching in the woods. Published by Mr. Horror, this short clip shows a group hanging out in the forest and what looks like the ruins of an abandoned structure.
Dude,
as the camera turns from the surrounding
places like this
trees
are
to
so
the
scary.
building, it captures something creeping around the door frame.
Make me edit more Chillz videos. Spent 2 hours
The
doing it today.
mysterious
I'm
figure
sorry.
is but a flash, and its features are indistinct. It quickly pulls out of view. The cameraman hurries forward, revealing a campfire built outside to the right.
You
What
know,
looks like the
whenever fake things are really fast like that, it reminds me of this video. Whenever you see like stuff in videos that's moving really fast, it reminds me of this. Giga Chad finds you in bathrooms. Found footage. Check this out. What the fuck, dude? Who made this? Look, this speed right here. That. CNC 12, 3 months of these videos, multiple hours, countless nightmares. True. All of it.
Is long gone. What was it? Are they being stalked by the unknown? It sure looks that way to me. Number 4, ghost playing with dogs. Even dogs have the sense to be aware of
Like this is this is literally an editing software filter that they've thrown on top of this video here.
Published by Scary Desk in January.
They made it black and white and added scan lines.
A security camera captured 2 dogs in an alleyway, acting suspicious. The dogs are seen watching something as of yet unseen. They then start to move away down the alley, looking over their shoulders. That's when the camera captures this shadow figure moving down the alley. The figure is distorted at first, but then becomes more human in form as it moves down the pike. Still, the figure is not solid, but a semi-transparent shadow. Some in the comments think the video has been manipulated, while others say
I didn't want.
ghosts
I mean,
like
obviously
this
I wouldn't want you to put that in there anyway, Mag. But of course, that was going to be entirely up to you. But
believe the footage is authentic. Whatever the case, the dogs definitely see the figure.
Found out how to blur things on DaVinci.
There.
I'm glad
What
you're
do
getting
you
really, really
think?
good at DaVinci.
I
That's
think
awesome.
something
He can teach me a thing or
mysterious
two.
is going on here. Number 3, back up. This dirt road has its own security guard. Published by Scary and Mysterious Stuff in February of 2021. A team faces off with a mysterious figure on a deserted road. As they drive in the middle of the night, wolves are howling all around. The atmosphere is unsettling.
I mean, I've had my fair share of.
Down a hill,
I've had my fair share of pseudo depressing conversations on here. Shit happens. But yeah, I would definitely understand why you'd want to blur that out.
figure in a black robe is captured up.
Mag, did you do what I was saying, where you like audio enhance me taking a bite, where it's just like a super loud slurping sound that's crushed really bad? That'd be awesome.
In the headlights, wearing a hood that blocks their face, the figure starts to slowly walk.
At least the
toward
video
vehicle,
quality's not terrible.
which backs up in response. The figure continues to approach the vehicle even after it's reversed far enough to not be a threat.
And then you just floor it and run over this figure. I turned it up as loud as it would let me. That's awesome.
Well, many in the comments
Absolutely
are saying
exposed
the figure was
eating
likely not
oatmeal.
a ghost since it casts a shadow. Others are calling the footage scary and dangerous regardless. If not a ghost, who is this person?
Not a
What
black
do
sheep
they
from Wally
want?
World.
Number 2.
True.
While you're sleeping,
You can hear the
got
spoon hit your teeth.
insomnia?
Ew.
This scary video won't help. Published by Little Genius in February of 2022. The following footage was captured while this poor soul was sleeping. Or
Who's
trying
recording?
to. Slowly, the blankets are pulled down from the man's shoulders.
I can't prove you wrong because you're 100% right, Dr. Red. You can't prove someone wrong who's
He pulls the
unequivocally
back,
right.
But it happens again, and then a third time. But this doesn't seem to get the sleeping man's attention. A water bottle balanced on his headboard falls onto the bed. He replaces it and continues
Okay, there's
to
a person
sleep, but
standing
the
here
bottle
recording.
soon wobbles to the side and falls again. Next, a chair with a teddy bear slides forward on its own. Moments later, it scoots forward even more.
He wanted you to prove him wrong? No.
It then tips backward, falling onto the floor and finally waking the man up. What entity is interfering with this guy's sleep? Whoever it is, it succeeded.
Whoever it
This
is,
man
that's
will
the
never
fucking
sleep
cameraman standing
again.
there recording. He's trying hard not to look at the cameraman, but someone is standing there recording. Like, come on, dude.
I've got a challenge for you.
Here we go. You ready? Here it comes.
July 15th, 1976, Chowchilla, California. A day that the town would like to forget forever, yet remains a part of its history. At around 4 p.m., school bus driver Ed Ray was driving 26 students of Maryland Elementary School home from a summer class trip to the Chowchilla Fairgrounds.
Dude, I don't know what it is, but anytime I hear about things that happened in the 70s, I automatically get on edge. Like, something about old footage from the 70s. It may be how people in the 70s felt about, like, 40s and 50s footage. And someone in my stream that came in during the Silent Hill Marathon, or no, during Resident Evil 7 from Sandwich's stream, said that it's because you're witnessing, like, a world that's been completely altered by technology and can't exist anymore. So it's like looking at a time capsule, and that freaks people out. And I agree with that.
Swimming pool. Ray was described as a humble rancher with a humble day job. Stocky, about 55 years old, a guy you would not want to pick a fight with.
Like, one of the scariest things in the world for me is 70s tornado footage. I don't know what it is, but it makes me so uneasy to look at that.
A guy who works with his hands and doesn't talk much. On this particular day, Ed's bus was rowdy, but the kids all loved him for his patience and reliability. The kids were all loud and excited after just having spent the afternoon swimming. Some of them were even singing, but when the bus turns onto Avenue 21, Ray sees a white Dodge van blocking the road with its door open. He tries to weave around the empty van when a guy in overalls with a pantyhose covering his face jumps out in front of the bus with a revolver.
Oh my God.
The man walks to the driver's side window and
He was
asks
saying
Ed,
putts. He was finishing and saying putts.
with no intimidation in his voice, "Would you open the door, please?" Ed opens it. Two more identically dressed figures jump in, one with a rifle which is quickly pointed at Ed. Everybody goes to the back of the bus. The one without a rifle starts to drive, and the one with the revolver hops in the van to follow them. They drive about a mile and park the bus in a bamboo thicket. The entire ride was apparently so silent that it added to the pure horror of it. The bus was hidden near the Chowchilla River, and 12 kids were ushered into the white van that was following the bus.
Okay, I think this is getting a little too much, but I want to show one of my favorite videos. Cultural impact of The Exorcist, 1973. This right here.
On December 26, 1973,
This doesn't make you guys feel uneasy just looking at this?
24 selected engagements in the United States, William Peter Blatty's The Exorcist, directed by William Friedkin.
Look at the lines.
From the novel that had long been on the bestseller lists and directed by the man who had brought the French Connection to the screen, The Exorcist had long been awaited, widely speculated upon, and anxiously anticipated. But no one, no matter how
This could
close or
never
deeply
happen nowadays.
involved in the film, could possibly have anticipated what was to happen at every theater where this film played.
These people are lining up like they're going on a theme park ride. You know what I mean? This shit would never, ever happen today because nowadays everybody's an edgelord on Reddit and they've already seen everything. Nobody admits that they're ever scared by anything. Everybody's seen every movie that's ever been released. We've seen it all, heard it all. Everything gets leaked months in advance. Like, something like this could just never happen nowadays. It could barely happen 15 years ago, much less in the 70s.
This is the second time we've seen it. It's terrific.
As many as I can possibly go. I love it.
This is just fucking crazy, dude. That people would line up to go to a theater and watch a movie like that. That shit will never happen again.
Bus. Ray and the other 14 kids got into the back of the second van that was waiting at the location, this one green. There was a partition separating the driver's seat to the back of the van, and all the windows were sealed. Ed and all the kids sat in the backs of these vans for 11 whole hours in the pitch black and extreme heats, all the while scared for their lives, not knowing what was going to happen.
The entire
next.
line is paid actors,
Some of
imagine.
the older kids started to sing songs to try to lighten the incredibly horrible setting and make the younger kids feel better. Songs like If You're Happy and You Know It. Meanwhile, back in town, it only took 15 minutes after the bus not showing up that parents began to wonder what was going on. That's how punctual Ed always was. Within the hour, the missing bus was being talked about on the local news stations. Parents helped police by tracing the route the bus usually took, and by that evening, they found the abandoned bus. Within hours, 30 FBI agents arrived on the scene and an intense investigation was underway to find the kids and Ed. Late that night, the vans finally arrive at a rock quarry 100 miles away in Livermore, 3:30 in the morning, at which point Ed had been awake for 24 hours. The back doors of the van swing open and two guys are waiting. Ed is the first one out. He's handed a flashlight and then told to strip and then go down a hole with a ladder in it.
What the fuck
Above
is happening?
ground, roll call is being taken for the children, and their names are written as they're made to leave the bus one by one. Then they're stripped and sent to join Ed down the ladder into what was referred to as the hole, which turned out to be an old moving van, which had been placed in a large dugout hole 12 feet underground. Ed immediately worried that the ceiling would cave in or that they'd suffocate. However, there were 2 air shafts, hoses that ran above ground to a tree. There were also some mattresses on the ground and a pathetic amount of necessities. Wonder Bread, peanut butter, potato chips, water jugs, and some holes carved for toilets. After all the kids were inside, one of the captors said, "We'll be back for you." Then a steel plate slid over the entrance.
What the fuck
was
is
weighted
happening?
down by something. They of course begged to be let out, and many of the younger children screamed. Then they heard repeated thumps on top of the van. They couldn't see it, but their captors were shoveling dirt on top of the van, burying them alive. Panic ensued in the trailer when it was realized what was happening. Ed tried his best to keep everybody calm. Ed and Michael Marshall, the oldest kid in the group, who was 14, started to push at the lid to try and open it, but it was pointless. So by now, Ed instructed everyone to eat and get some rest. 12 hours later, the food was all already consumed, and the ventilation system that was keeping the van cool stopped working, and the hot July air started to fill the tight
You hand me
space.
that? It's on the bed.
On top of
My
that,
phone.
the roof of the van started to cave in, and Ed knew time was very limited. The survivors, now adults, recount that around this time, as the walls and ceiling of the van were caving in and there was no food left, that they were starting to realize they wouldn't likely make it out of this alive. Ed and Michael started to pile up the mattresses in the trailer to get to the roof, which had been covered with a heavy sheet of metal and weighted down with 2 100-pound industrial batteries. After hours of effort, Ray and Michael wedged the lid open with a piece of wood and moved the batteries. They then dug away the remainder of the debris blocking the entrance. 16 hours after they had entered the van, the group emerged and walked to the quarry's guard shack, where a security guard called the police. Ed and the children were brought to a nearby jail, where they were fed and interviewed by police. So the captors were 3 men, Frederick Newall
Why
Woods,
did they do this?
James Schoenfeld, and his brother Richard. Frederick's family owned the quarry that the van was buried at. The 3 men were finding themselves in financial struggles, so they planned to hijack the bus and demand a $5 million ransom to release the group.
Oh,
The men
okay.
would flee when they saw the group escaped though, but they were found after a 2-week manhunt. They were found guilty and sentenced to life with the possibility of parole. Richard Schoenfeld was released in 2012.
What?
And James Schoenfeld was paroled on August 7th, 2015. Frederick Woods was denied parole 15 times because he owned the quarry. However, in March of this year, he was granted parole as well.
What?
Rightfully
The
so,
fuck?
people of Chowchilla and people around the world were sickened at the fact that the 3 men who committed this kind of monstrous
Yeah.
act could ever roam the streets again. If Michael and Ed hadn't stepped up and dug the group out of that van, they likely would not have survived. Ed Ray died at 91 in May 17th of 2012, but he is still to this day remembered as a hero. What you just
Holy
heard
shit.
may perhaps be the most well-known near tragedy to happen to a school bus full of children.
The
However,
whole
it's a
time
big-
I was wondering, why the fuck did they even set this up? But it makes sense. They were going after a ransom. That never works. Like, guys, criminals, stop committing crimes.
world, and there are unfortunately many other horrific events that don't end up on the news. Then 14-year-old Donald, who wished to have his last name left out, was a student at a high school in Virginia and a member of the school's band. The bus driver's name was Robert,
Here,
and
Zero.
everyone called him Bob. Like Ed Ray, he also seemed to enjoy his job and enjoyed the company of the students he drove, albeit these students were a little older. On October 20th of 1995, Bob was driving a class of band students to and from their field trip. Donald was in this bus. The festival they went to ended late at night, around 10, and the drive back to the school where the students would be dropped off was a 45-minute drive away.
Yeah, probably
The
never.
bus was on Route 58, a highway that runs through Virginia. Given the rural setting, there were basically no other cars on the road.
Oh, yeah,
But even
Dragon. So I wanted to mention to you, dude, you probably already know this, but if you ever want to see any stream that you may have missed, they're actually all uploaded going all the way back to December of last year on the Stream Dump channel that Mag made. Don't sub to my personal channel. It's awful. But you can sub to or look at the Stream Dump channel, and Mag does a really great job editing and uploading those. So within just a few days of me streaming, they're always up there. So if you ever miss one or you want to go back and watch it, there's a shit ton of games and other videos. Creeps and Chill is specifically for videos like this that we'll watch, and she'll edit those together from multiple streams. But with the games, it's all, just dependent on what the video title is.
when one car was relatively close to the back of the bus, it wasn't any cause for alarm at first. But when the car would start to tailgate the bus, instead of simply going around it, especially when the bus and the car were the only vehicles in sight,
I know, man, you're fucking going ham.
Bus started to realize and discuss amongst themselves how strange it was. Bob the bus driver would switch into the left lane to get the driver off his ass, and all the kids watched as the car floored it past the bus in the right lane. Some kids shouting things out the windows, to which the chaperone on the bus told the kids to knock it off. Donald recalls thinking the car was gone and it was just some aggressive late-night driver, when suddenly the bus slammed on the brakes so hard that everybody was slightly lifted from their seats, and there was an ear-piercing shriek from the brakes. The bus came to a halt on the middle of the highway, and Bob told everyone to remain calm. The bus went into reverse for a few moments, then
it's
back
all
in
relative,
drive
Mac.
to
It's all
another
relative.
halt. Bob shouted at everybody on board the bus to keep quiet and don't panic. And hearing those words made Donald, along with his friends he was sitting with, and every other student on the bus whisper amongst themselves nervously. There was shouting from outside the bus from multiple men's voices. Then the bus doors opened, and two men wearing black pullover masks armed with handguns came on board, yelling at everyone on the bus to shut up in response to a few students near the front screaming. One of the men with the guns announced to the entire bus to empty their wallets of all cash and take any jewelry off and to give it to them. They went row to row with their guns pointed at the kids, as each student took out their wallets and placed whatever small amounts of money broke high school students could be carrying in their wallets into the plastic bag the guy was holding.
Yeah, what the fuck are you
girls would take
thinking?
off their jewelry. Some students would scream as the gun was pointed in their faces, which would be a natural reaction for some. Donald described the moment he had a gun pointed at his head at 14 as emotionally traumatizing, that he felt his entire existence would end if he moved or looked at the guy the wrong way. The men didn't even make it to the back of the bus before they decided to leave in a hurry, most likely panicked that other cars would pass by and stop. The car floored it away down Route 58 with its lights off. Its license plates had been covered, indicating it was a planned attack, if the guns and masks weren't already.
I know, what a
enough.
fucking weird target.
Everyone on board made it home okay. Just most of the students, as well as Bob and the chaperone, had been robbed. Unfortunately, bus robberies are a common thing though, and while most probably aren't caught on video, what you're about to see was. A school bus traveling along the N4 in Whitbank one Friday night this past February was attacked by armed robbers. The teachers did not know it at the time, but the robbers had laid out rocks on the highway, intending to cause damage to vehicles so that the drivers would stop.
Dude, this is just like that Northam, it's like that Northam, whatever it was, Hitchhiker game, where they put out logs specifically so you couldn't go any further.
Robbers could steal from them at gunpoint. The bus was carrying 4 teachers and the driver. There were no pupils in the vehicle. They were traveling back to the school after an athletics meeting.
Thank God for that, but
hit the
still,
rocks
it's fucked
and
up.
ruptured a tire. There were 3 robbers. 2 were armed with guns and 1 with a knife.
Norwood Hitchhike, yeah.
I need phone. Okay, yes, you can take it. Give me a phone. Why? Give me a phone. What is that your car?
The assailants stole cell phones, cash, jewelry, and a smartwatch. The bus driver was hit in the face with a gun and sustained a minor jaw injury, but that was the only injury. The robbers then fled the scene, and eventually a tow truck later pulled over to assist. One of the teachers borrowed the tow truck driver's phone and called her fiancé, who notified the authorities. Police soon arrived, and an investigation began. The robbers have still not been identified. Since buses can carry a lot of people, depending on the intent of the people looking to target them, they may see extra dollar signs just based on the amount of people on board alone. Even though you don't often hear about these things happening on the news, they do happen. In such situations where people are armed with guns, it's always best to just comply with their orders.
Yeah, I mean, that's for sure. Like, dude, at that point, nobody gives a fuck about their phone or whatever else. It's like, I will just give them whatever they fucking want just to get them away. You know what I mean? The only problem comes when you give them everything you have and they're not satisfied. They want more. That's where the issue comes in. But it's like, yeah, I mean, if they're gonna fucking...
On January 31st, 1993, the wife and daughter of a Texas man named David Lewis would return home to discover him nowhere to be found. Soon after and across the country, an unidentified man would be spotted walking down the side of a highway before being killed in a hit and run. It would take over 11 years for these stories to converge. The disappearance, as you might expect, was sudden and abnormal, but shined light into the possibility that David Glenn Lewis just might have been hiding something.
Yeah, these apples are amazing. Gala apples. God damn, they're so good.
The fans are going wild and the show is about to begin. Welcome everybody to Bud Bowl 5.
Whoa, Ma, this place is rocking!
It was 1993. Super Bowl weekend, to be exact. With preparations in place and a lively Dallas, Texas, awaiting an influx of sports fans, festivities were abundant for one of the largest sports events of the year. On the 28th of January, David's wife and daughter, Karen and Lauren, embarked on a 400-mile trip from their home in Amarillo to Dallas for a weekend of shopping in the city. The reason why David stayed behind is unclear. Some have stated that he wanted to record the game to a VHS, and since their VCR lacked a function to begin a recording at a set date, he had to be there in person to start it. Others, like his wife, have made tangential statements alluding to the possibility that he had to work, since he was a lawyer. From the span of January 28th to the 31st, what took place back at the Lewis home is unclear. By January 31st, though, Karen's testimony aided investigators in piecing together those missing events. That evening, the game was scheduled to begin at 5:30 p.m. Central. A few hours after this, around 11:15 p.m., Karen and Lauren would arrive back at the home to discover David nowhere to be found. His car was missing. There was clean laundry in the dryer. His wedding ring and watch were intact on the counter. There were 2 freshly made turkey sandwiches in the fridge. And the VCR had recorded even after the match was over. At first glance, the circumstances here wouldn't exactly raise red flags, since there appeared to be no evidence of foul play. And so Karen assumed that he'd merely been working late or watching the game somewhere, and would return soon. David Glenn Lewis never returned home again. One day later, his wife would officially report him missing. At around 10:30 p.m. on the night of February 1st, a motorist on State Route 24 in Yakima, Washington, encountered what they believed to be a man walking on the side of the road. Since it was so late, his actions were cause for concern, since it wasn't exactly common to find people hitchhiking in the dead of night. While it was hard to tell, they believed that the man was dressed in military-style clothing and work boots. Following this odd encounter, they found a safe spot to make a U-turn so they could loop back around and check up on him. When they finally managed to get back, they discovered his body, but it was lifeless on the side of the road. A Chevy Camaro was also allegedly spotted fleeing the scene when they approached him. However, attempts at catching the plate information were unsuccessful. After this discovery, they rushed to file a report, and police arrived on the scene shortly after. Investigations into the body found that there were no drugs or alcohol in his system, and there was unfortunately no form of identification, leaving him stuck as an unidentified John Doe. The Camaro that was spotted was one of the only working leads, and since
they use dental records though?
24 weren't exactly pronounced, the hit and run that took place was eventually deemed accidental, leaving the case to remain stagnant. Conversely, back in Amarillo, the investigation into David Lewis was just ramping up. The very next day, his red Ford SUV was spotted outside of the Potter County Courts building, a mere 10 miles from the local airport. Inside the glove box, investigators were able to find his credit cards, driver's license, and checkbook in spots that Karen claims he usually keeps them. Soon after this discovery, Karen Lewis expressed even greater concern since it was incredibly out of the ordinary for him to just up and vanish without any of his possessions or identification. It began to seem that there was a piece to the puzzle that investigators were missing. Something that had potentially placed David in the crosshairs of an adversary.
Yeah, what's up, Jordan?
In one of her testimonies, Karen claimed that a few weeks prior to his disappearance, her husband told her
Eating
that
some
he believed
apples,
that he was
watching
in
some
danger,
scary
but
videos.
wouldn't
That's a
provide
great
any
start, dude.
information as to what the immediate threat was. This eventually led David's family to express the belief that it could have been linked to his work as an attorney. He had allegedly been wrapped up in a high-stakes lawsuit against his former law firm, Ham, Irwin, Graham & Cox, with the wealthy client suing them for conflict of interest. A week after he went missing, David was scheduled to fly to Dallas for a deposition, determined to reveal the firm's misdeeds no matter the cost. It was noted by his father that shortly before he vanished, he claimed that he was, quote, going to tell the truth, whoever it hurts. These leads, unfortunately, also materialized nothing.
Well, yeah, if you're a lawyer for a big law firm and you say some shit like that, you might as well just paint the target on your back, you know?
A few months later, a discovery was made involving David Lewis and plane tickets that he'd purchased the weekend he went missing. Two of them. One from Dallas to Amarillo, Texas, purchased on January 31st, and a second.
See, I lose track of time, Jordan. I've been graduated from high school for 10 years, so I lose track of time. But it is cool that school's out now. You know, it's actually summer for kids. So maybe Sick Boy and Ryrog can hang out more. Just kidding.
From Los Angeles to Dallas, purchased on the 1st of February. This effectively places Lewis at the DFW airport on the 31st and at LAX the very next day. It's widely believed that he had pre-purchased his return flights while at each location, although the actual flight dates and if he used the tickets are unclear. This leaves us with 3 lingering questions though. Where was David Lewis going? How did he get to where he was without any sort of trail? And why did he purchase return tickets back home?
Man, 06 was a great year. My school grade was always the same as the second year. So 7th grade ended in 07, 8th grade ended in 08, you know, that sort of thing. So I graduated in 2012, but I was the youngest person in my grade, so I should have graduated 2013. But yeah.
To answer the second question, we have to consider the time period that his flights were purchased. Since it predates the 9/11 tragedy, airline rules in the US were much more lax than they are today. Back then, one could purchase a ticket using a completely different name since a valid ID wasn't required to board the flight. Of course, this is far from how things are today, so this
What's up,
doesn't
Dr.
work
Red?
anymore. But most are
I got
set
some,
in the belief that this is what Lewis had done on his flights out of
apples?
town. Regarding
No,
the
you can't
why,
say Sky because that's a One Piece reference, and a matter of fact,
that's
it's a reference to the
still
Skype arc. Because
Some
the Straw Hat
have
Pirates go to
postulated
the
that he
sky
was
and the
trying
land
to
is
get away
Whoop
from
and
that
Aru and stuff.
aforementioned threat,
Exactly,
covering
dude.
up his tracks along the way. It's believed that, for him, it wasn't as imperative to fly under the radar, so to speak, while returning home. But that is, if he ever planned to.
Youngest in my class with a late August birthday at 17. Yeah, I was born in December. So yeah.
By June of that year, leads remained sparse as circumstantial details trickled in. It seemed like piecing together what and where David Lewis did and went was paramount to harvesting any sort of answer on his current whereabouts and motivations. A Del Rio, Texas news publisher by the name of the Del Rio News Herald published an allocated timeline up to that point in the investigation. And while it doesn't exactly provide any definitives, it does exemplify the fact that Lewis's weekend was far from ordinary. According to the write-up, starting on Thursday, January 28th, Lewis had left his workplace at noon, claiming he was sick. The next day, a friend spotted him rushing through the Southwest Airlines terminal at the local airport with no luggage. On Saturday, $5,000 was deposited into Lewis's bank account, with a neighbor spotting his red SUV at home. By Sunday morning, he was spotted at the court building, taking a photo of his car in the parking lot. And by Monday morning, a Dallas cab driver drove a man matching the description of Lewis from a hotel to the Dallas airport. The driver claims that, quote, the passenger seemed nervous and fumbled through a wad of $100
Sorry, I'm not
bills
talking a
to
whole
pay
lot.
the
I'm trying to destroy these apples. I got 5 slices left. Gala apples. So I'm just kind of cramming them down, and we'll get to games soon, okay?
fare. Now, if we assume that all of these claims are accurate,
oh, no
they
problem,
hint at
Dr.
the
Ed.
possibility of Lewis paying for his plane tickets with cash to further avoid being tracked. Considering the fact that he left all of his personal possessions, including his credit card and ID at home, this, of course, makes sense. What stands out here, however, is the $5,000 that was placed into his account. Unless he was allocating a substantial chunk of that for some other obligation, I don't think a few taxi rides and plane trips would come anywhere close to reaching that monetary milestone. The only explanation that could account for a sum of this magnitude would be some sort of direct deposit from his employer being wired into his account. Considering the fact that he was a longtime lawyer, it wouldn't be far-fetched to assume that this would be the reason. But if that were the case, why would it, at all, be notable? If this were his typical pay, then it would be simple to discount it as just that. Work compensation.
Oh, dude, Honeycrisp is my absolute favorite, so big agree, but these are Gala apples. They're very similar to Honeycrisp, just slightly less sweet and a little bit more firm. My least favorite are just Normal Red and Granny Smith. Granny Smith are way too sour, and Normal Red are way too bitter.
Just food for thought.
Usually called Delicious Red or whatever.
Jumping to his Dallas, Texas encounter on February 1st, I'd like to highlight something. If he were taking a taxi from a hotel to the Dallas airport, then we have to assume that he spent the night in Dallas after arriving there the previous day. Thinking back on the chain of events, though, presents a unique inconsistency. Looking back, we can recall that Lewis allegedly wanted to record the Super Bowl, and there were freshly made sandwiches in the fridge. If David were to have been spotted that morning taking a picture of his vehicle at the court building, then his only method of getting back home would have been taking a taxi or getting someone to pick him up. For someone with so many extraordinary variables surrounding his disappearance,
yeah, dude, it's like
something as
$4 to
simple as wanting
$5
to
a
record
pound.
Football game is immensely
Like, damn,
unexceptional.
I didn't know apples were supposed to break the bank, you know?
The typical long play VHS tape records approximately 4 hours of footage, and the average football game is around 3 hours and 12 minutes long. If we're assuming that the VCR didn't have any sort of auto-record feature, then it makes the events surrounding this that much more puzzling. Why go through the effort of dropping your car off that morning only to make it back home, going about your day, and even making sandwiches like everything's alright? Why up and vanish after 5:30, leaving behind everything you have? This is, of course, assuming that the VCR did not have an auto-record function. Unfortunately, confirmation for and against this minute detail have never been released, and because of that, it's unclear whether he left that morning when he was spotted, or later that night. That sentiment largely encompassed the Lewis case investigators. It seemed that the pieces were falling in line, however substantial answers and leads to the body were mostly non-existent. Because of this, and after 11 months, the search unfortunately concluded, leaving this case to sit untouched until anything further came of it.
I know his videos. He's going to say, until. Here it comes. Until. Oh, okay. Close enough. Yeah, still MGS.
It would take over 10 years before the events that took place in Yakima and Amarillo would converge. In
It's a
2004,
fucking awesome game.
a Washington state detective named Peter Ditter was reading a series by the name of Without a Trace. After becoming fascinated with the topic of missing persons, he embarked on a personal journey to identify any that he could. After looking into a few and their characteristics, he eventually stumbled upon coverage of the situation that played out that night in Washington. He cross-checked the photo from the crime scene with various contenders and realized that the person looked incredibly similar to David Glenn Lewis of Amarillo. The only catch was that Lewis was known to have worn glasses, while the unidentified body wasn't wearing any when he was found. Upon further investigation into the characteristics and items that were found on John Doe's body, however, a pair of glasses were among them, effectively sealing the deal that this man was, in fact, David Glenn Lewis.
Based on what he said about the law firm,
But of course,
the law
this
firm hired a
discovery
hitman,
would only raise more questions than answers.
is what this sounds like.
What obligations would David Lewis have in Yakima, Washington, of all places? Why was he spotted in military-styled clothing and work boots, attire that Karens come forward to claim are extremely unusual for him? If he had all this cash, why couldn't he grab a rental car or a taxi? We can't claim that he had drugs or alcohol in his system since those tests came back negative. So why exactly was he spotted walking down the side of a Washington highway at 10:30 at night? Well, that's where everyone's stuck. Some have postulated that it could have been tied to the case he was working on against his former employer, and others have settled on the possibility that it could have been linked to a mental breakdown. If you ask me, I believe it was tied to sudden paranoia brought upon himself through that threat he alluded to with his wife. What that threat is could be tied to his work, or could be something completely out of the picture. Considering the fact that he ended up in Yakima, Washington of all places, lends to the potential that he might have been more secretive than he made out to be. But that's the thing. That's merely speculation. Something that this investigation is no stranger to.
Welcome back, Mac.
And that's where we sit. The inconsistencies and
I'm
questions
destroying some
surrounding
apples
his
right now.
disappearance are some that have gone unanswered for decades, leaving investigators scratching their heads. Unfortunately, it just might stay that way because the only person who truly knows what played out that bizarre weekend
Is David Glenn Lewis.
Glenn Lewis, who left his entire life behind with hardly a lead to follow.
Coming up in
Dude, Jordan, there's this guy who plays a Smash Brothers game who wore off all the cartilage in his hand. He wore off all the cartilage in his basal thumb joint, like here, from moving the stick back and forth. And he had to have something called a flexor tendon removed from his arm. Like, it became literally impossible for him to hold a game controller because he fucked it up so badly. That's crazy. And he also had early onset basal thumb joint arthritis just from playing the game, not from, anything else. You got it from skateboarding. How did that happen? This is my last piece. I'm going to rinse my hands and then I'll be right back and we'll play.
this video, they say these videos are too scary for most people to handle. Well, I did some calculations, and these are the scary videos only 17% of people can handle. Number 15, Witch on Sight, Get Out, published by Ratatat MC channel in October of 2021. and originally posted to Twitter by @HAYATIJTS. This is the creepiest witch who ever appeared on camera. The video shows an old woman in tattered clothing with long gray hair moaning on the ground of her shack. Her face is what's so scary about this. You can't make out any features but a great gash for a mouth.
Astagfirullah. Bang Anton, jangan terlalu dekat. Bang Anton, mundur, Bang Anton.
As this brave woman steps away, the witch springs out from her shack, crouched down low. She crawls creepily on all fours across the ground toward the woman. The woman appears to be doing some martial arts toward the witch, preparing to defend herself. The witch then gets the better of her, casting a spell her way. This throws the woman on her side, and she sounds like she's choking, but she rights herself. The witch then casts another spell, throwing her back again. The woman is really straining this time. The witch may have won this battle, but will she win the next? I guess it's this woman's decision if she'll ever return here again. Number 14, Human Mutant. Here's a question for this video. Human or mutant? Published by Mr. Illusion. I truly hope that this is an illusion. The scary video.
Dude, literally
shows a
all the videos
creature
that he
with a
shows in
big
this look
human-like
exactly the
face
same.
curled up on the floor. Its body, however, is not human.
What
It's
the
small
fuck
and
is this?
extremely hairy with hooved limbs and sharp talons.
With hooved limbs. Good lord, so fake.
I wouldn't want to run into this horror in the wild, and I'm pretty sure 83% of people wouldn't either. Only 17% can handle it.
Oh my
Number
God.
13, Teddy is watching. Remember when you used to pretend that your stuffed animal was alive? Perhaps.
Okay, that's quite enough.
Subscribe for new weekly episodes of Creeps and Chill.